Okay. I suppose I'm not really sure how to do this. However, I'm just gonna make it as what I know every other live stream to look like. So I'm gonna turn on some very quiet music, like right about there. And this is kind of my first attempt at a YouTube video. Um, which is a little unusual for me, but kind of give you guys a walkthrough of some of the stuff I've been working on, and actually let me turn this down. Um, Kind of give you guys some of the walkthrough of the things I've been working on, and another big part of the reason I wanted to try and make a video on it is because there's still a lot of stuff that I need to work on and try and do better each day. And so I admit got out of bed way too late. Um, Not super happy about that. So I haven't even had a minute to look through my daily charts and whatnot. So 9:30 is already open, in my higher time frame charts. I don't want to, full transparency, like there's a lot of mornings where I get to my computer and I get so dialed in and focused on 9:30 in the opening range from 9:30 to 10 that I don't even look at these high time frame charts to figure out kind of where we're at from a higher time frame perspective, and that's kind of been my biggest struggle, or one of them these last couple months. Um, so yeah, first thing I will do is let me take the NWOGs and NDOGs off of there real quick, and these are all from yesterday. So I guess we have yesterday's central bank dealing range, Asia range, which is something I've been working on as far as pulling ranges from them and um, using them as a reference point for where you're at and where the market's going to show you it's going. And sometimes it's a lot easier said than done. But again, it's just slowly work at it. I'm trying to give, again, like I said, I'm not very happy. I woke up late this morning and then tried to make the first YouTube video and focus. I suppose I'm not the most focused on the market, and so I got to figure out how to draw the line between I'm gonna talk to you guys and kind of explain to you what I'm working on, but also be able to focus in the markets. But like a lot of the reason I'm making the video as well is to help me kind of figure out where I am. But kind of right now I'm just in shambles actually getting my bearings, because like I said, again, I kind of just sat down on my computer and hit the record button and am not am not where I ultimately need to be come 9:30. So this is 9:30's opening price. That's one thing I usually go put on there. I put these last night. This is a 15-minute CB. I think this was a 15-minute CB up here, or maybe a 4-hour CB. Yeah, this was a 4-hour CB from yesterday, or Tuesday. Um, and full transparency, like we already went over that I got to my computer late, but it's stuff. It's even mornings like this where without getting my full bearings, I'm very good at picking parts of the market that obviously need taken, but figuring out when they need taken has been a problem for me. And so clearly I haven't been in front of my computer long, but looking at this move down here quickly immediately at 9:30 without any push up, there's part of me that's like, okay, this is a Judas swing, kind of. But on the other hand, it's like eventually we're gonna take the other side of 9:30. Kind of just talking. Maybe I need to stop because I don't really know looking for this morning. I'm very good at pulling apart market structure, but figuring out like what we're doing on the high time frame has been, it's not always the easiest. So let me actually just gather my bearings. I feel like I've just been yapping for the last little bit, but so this is Monday. Oh shit. I was confused. But our opening range gap has already been traded through. Where's my settlement? Settlement price. So we actually closed right there. So this is our opening range gap. And instead of having those lines in there that already got filled, I will just put on my opening range gap box here. So this is regular trading hours right now. Figured out that a lot of the time this can be a draw up here from a regular trading hours liquidity perspective. It doesn't matter that if Asia did trade through it, which I think it did because we were all the way up here yesterday. But even from a regular trading hours perspective, a lot of the time these New York session highs and lows from past sessions that never got touched will a lot of the times continue to be a draw. So what I was talking about when we were working in the ranges, again, this is kind of rough because it's my first time trying to talk to you guys as I'm walking through it, so my level of focus is somewhere split between actually figuring out what I'm doing and trying to figure out how to talk to you guys. But from a perspective of helping me talk through what I'm actually looking for and actually doing, I guess I'm just kind of winging it ultimately, but yeah. So this right here is probably an event horizon from two different NWOGs. Event horizon being the central point. And ICT will tell you that if it hits the central point, there's a very high likelihood that it's going to get all the way to the other side of the market. But see, that's like, I'm doing myself a disservice. Maybe I'm just talking myself through my feelings, but a lot of this stuff, like, I would never. There's a lot of this stuff that I've even kind of talked about this morning that is not like actively working through my head each morning that I sit down in front of my computer. You may notice that clicking through these charts, there may not be very much order to how I'm clicking through my charts right now because, again, trying to manage the difference between just talking and let's actually pull this order block over there. This is about 50% of that central bank dealing range, and just see what these lower time frames look like within that order block. So if 930 I was like, where's my opening range gap? There it is. So if 930 opened, let's go to 1 minute chart. This is probably a pretty easy trade, just right at a minimum back up into the opening range gap. But being it's before 10 o'clock, it could easily start just shitting on everyone in here and run up here. And but at a minimum, you could have bought this at least to get into the opening range gap, which would have given you 20 handles just right there. And it's stuff like that I see it. I need to do a better job at you know, not trading when it's not something that I'm the most confident in. But like especially when it's right out of 9:30 and you know it's gonna be back and forth a lot. A lot of the times you can get quick, very easy setups like this. This being the 9:30 candle can't be first percent of fair value gap, so I'm gonna mark the next candle out as our first percent of fair value gap after 9:30, which will be right here, and then you right there hit the consequent encroachment. It just makes you laugh, you know. But I kind of already have the plan in my mind that I'm not really gonna take any trades. Now, if something looks perfect, then maybe I'll consider it. But like we have big regular trading hours gap right here. Yesterday's opening range gap, as well as this is sell side. But the way I look at this, and sometimes I would see this as a larger draw, is because your lowest low here took the previous low, not by much, but it did. Took the previous low, hit this breaker order block, and then pushed away from it, which tells me that there's a lot of liquidity down here. I don't know what I'm saying, bro. I'm gonna like, you know, it's gonna be the end of the day, and we're gonna be all the way down here in price or something. And I'm gonna watch this video back and just be pissed that I was yapping, and it all came out like I have no idea what in the hell I'm talking about. But I think it comes from trying to talk as if I was teaching somebody to hopefully teach myself, and you know, so we'll just work on it. Maybe I don't need to talk so much, but when I'm actually looking for something or looking at something, you know, just to kind of help that, I guess. But so we have this order block, the 5-minute order block, no, 1 hour order block brought over as it's working its way up. I'm still gonna give it some time. So that was a trade up to the consequent encroachment of so we'll see what this does here. As you can see, that body just respected that lower quadrant right here, so maybe we jump down to a 15-second chart and see what this wants to show us. Because if these bodies are respecting that 1 hour order block, took this low and gives you something here, there's a pretty high likelihood that you'll be able to, without a higher time frame bias, at minimum you'll take this high, maybe even this area here. Another thing that I should do actually is from a 15-minute high perspective. This is at 9 o'clock this morning. This is the most recent 15-minute swing high, and you can see on the downside, you know, we already took out this low, this low, this low. So kind of just, I suppose, some of the things I'm looking at and have been learning to look at in a more consistent basis. Kind of need some water. Again, we'll see what this candle does. These candles do here. You can get so many of these throughout the day, and it's not something I'm in the habit of doing, where I'll say it again, especially around 9:30, like the second, you do have to be careful, because here's a breaker with a fair value gap. If you were to sell that, you're obviously on the wrong side of it, but you have the correct bias with being inside that first percent of fair value gap on the bullish side of it. You may not want to go short, but seeing as how we're underneath the opening range gap right here. Even coming down to a 15-second chart, wondering if this is gonna, we gonna use this as an inversion fair value gap, or are we gonna come down off of it one more time? You can break it down to a 15-second chart and be like, okay, well, we just hit the consequent encroachment of this, took this high out, broke down, created a new low, and you have your fair value gap right here. There's so many times where you can sell, where you can just sell that first fair value gap, even down to your most recent low with no bias, and there's another 17 handles. So, and again, I never do this. I can talk about this all day long, but the higher time frame stuff is the stuff that I'm trying to work on more consistently. And so, it's just kind of a pain in the ass. Like every morning I kick myself being like, well, I saw that and I saw that, and it's just a learning experience. I'm not really worried about at which point I will become profitable. It's just kind of a matter of when. So this looks good. This is potentially a long right here. You have this swing high right here. Took out this low, and with a bullish bias as of now, probably on a more short term. We already talked about how we traded down, traded back up, and now we're kind of figuring out what it's going to do. But we took a lot of 15-minute lows on this side of the market, and so buying this fair value gap, feel like we're pretty high likelihood. I'm not going to press the button because confidence is something I lack. But like I was saying, like a lot of the times these fair value gaps right here, you can a lot of times very easily just grab your most recent high and grab some quick handles, but we'll see what it does here. And there's so many times too where it could respect this low and trade all the way through it, and if that was a trade that I would take, even as it is now, I would close it or be shitting my pants, not happy with the fact that it's already traded all the way back through this fair value gap, even though sometimes you can it's not to be unexpected. Your biggest thing you need to worry about is one thing that I have to worry about or focus on is just keep your stop where it goes. Don't close your trade and just wait, So we'll see what this does. And that's exactly why. Now, I'm not saying that this won't just, because of what time it is, bam, just shit on everybody who thinks that these are safe flows right now, but kind of what I'm saying is, like, if I bought this right here, would not be happy with these bodies closing below here, and yet we'll see what it does, but at a minimum, if it does work, push all the way up to this high right here, I mean, what would that give you? So you would be in 12 handles of drawdown at the most, and if this hits that, 22 handles, which I don't know that it will. And even if it doesn't, it's so easy. You go into the market to make money. Like, you don't need the just massive trades. But even this morning, talking about how, like, where was my, buying this fair value gap to get to your most recent high. There it is. Bam. Another 22 handles. Like, what did we have here? 22 handles up to here. 17 handles down to here off of the opening range gap. Another 20 some handles up to here. Like, if I was on top of my game every morning, like pulling this stuff out of the market is not a struggle for me, but like crossing that bridge from profitable to from studying and profitability to figuring, I don't really know what I'm trying to say. It's frustrating for me being able to look at some of these stuff in the morning, and those 3 15-second trades right there, that would have been fantastic. Um, Yet high time frame stuff, like my brain does not work fast enough in order to be like, you know what, I'm gonna go. This is still regular trading hours. Sorry. To go, I'm gonna. Okay, we're moving up right now. So where can I look up to use some of these PD rays to help push my bias that, okay, yeah, we're actually gonna start working the upside right now. So what I'm looking at right now is, like I've said, we've taken those 15-minute lows. There's this swing high that's being hard pushed right now by see, hard pushed. Like, what even is that term? That's not an ICT term. That's just some bullshit that I'm pulling out of my ass to keep talking to the camera. But it's pushing above here. We'll see if we leave any sort of fair value gap. There's no fair value gap in here, but we have this opening range gap again. We've already pushed away from the first percent of fair value gap and traded through it. It doesn't need to come back down here. A lot of the time when you have these big wicks right here, you can get discount wicks. If you go high, low, higher high, your most recent up close candle, this candle right here is a breaker. If you were to drag that across anywhere, if this is actually going to continue further, a lot of times anywhere inside of this breaker can be considered a discount, but it's also just some of the confidence that I'm lacking in, and we'll see what it does here. I'm gonna get this out of the way, but I will just drag that breaker across and just see how. He says the highest high to the low. Just drag this breaker across, and there you go, right there. We'll see what it does. And a lot of these 15-second trades that I'm talking about, like making myself sound good by I could have, there's 17 handles and then 20 handles and then another 22 handles up to go take that high. Like, yeah, there's your breaker. And it pisses me off. It pisses me off because it's, if you're careful and you just take those little setups, like, you have enough money. There's money there. But what did I say, man? I'm not very good at tape rating. There's a lot of mornings where I'll go into the market and tell myself I'm gonna sit still and then think that I see something on we'll say a higher time frame. Think it doesn't matter. See something on a higher time frame and be like, well, I'm pretty sure this is it, and then you never get a return to that fair value gap or whatever, and then I'll kick myself and be like, I knew it, and it went there, and so while I'm glad that the first time I'm trying to record a video, I'll be able to look back and be like, okay, yes, this is what I knew, and talking through these things with myself actually helped me think and pay more attention. Like, goodness gracious, even when I was talking about buying it down here, and these are the things that I just have to think through. Buying this right here, it's great to be able to buy every 15-second candle and pull 25 handles out of the market right there. And like, where's my other one? Right here. Sorry. 25 handles there, or 21 handles here, and where's my other one? It was a short right here. Pull even down to that low right there, and 17 handles there. So 25, what was that? 25, 22, and 17. Like, that's already 60 handles in the market. But then when you bring in the high time frame, if if I'm dialoguing that we're buying this fair value gap right here, coming off of, with taking this low, having already ran down after 9:30 and taken out multiple 15-minute swing lows, take this low again right here and immediately push back up off of the first presented fair value gap. There's no reason in your right mind you can't buy this right here. And you could be wrong. Of course, you could always be wrong. But that's where the high time frame, it tricks me, or just it's not. I just eat it sometimes because, I was talking about buying this at a minimum, just bullshitting at a minimum in order to get above this high right here. But from a 15-minute perspective, we were looking at this high up here, and what do we think is the odds that it wants to take one of those higher time frame. I'll mark that out actually. Let's see, buy side liquidity. Oh, son of a bitch. This is where I get screwed. You guys are probably looking at me like I'm an idiot. Like Garrett, we went to regular trading hours at the beginning of the morning. This buy side liquidity, yesterday's AM session buy side liquidity. Okay. Go out to electronic trading hours. Last 15-minute high on the 15-minute chart, even electronic trading hours right before 9 a.m. Like, you can't tell me that it's not very obvious that the market is going to go there. And so just coupling all of that with the things that I know, why would you not potentially take a trade right here? Or if we know we're buying it right here, we have the bullish bias up to this line. That's another 72 handles right here. And when I do this, I have to be, honest with myself that if you're buying that fair value gap, you're one tick within that fair value gap. And so you will sit through, or I would have sat through this drawdown, and that would have been 11 handles of drawdown, and my stop would have been 23 handles. So there's so many things that I can work on, but it's that high time frame stuff that has just continued to be a problem for me. And even these 15-second trades, like, it's really easy for me to go into this morning and be like, yeah, I'm not taking this 15-second trade, and I'm not taking this 15-second trade, and I'm not taking this 15-second trade. But if I wasn't streaming or was trying to take trades, like, even in my mind now, I'm playing the game of, yeah, but there's no way you would have taken those even if you weren't streaming, and it's like, you're probably right. So it's the high time frame stuff along with the whatever you want to call it, the conviction or the confidence that, okay, I actually know what I'm looking at. And I could be wrong, but I'm still going to buy this, and it's just kind of that stuff that I'm working through right now. I'm going to fill up my water. You guys just tape read for a minute, okay? Okay. I do have to admit that, I've already talked about how, starting to record and feel like I actually have to talk to somebody and kind of feed you guys my thought process, because there's no way that you guys are going to be sitting through this, on your own charts, following exactly what I'm doing, and it's kind of why I'm just, overlaying or yapping, but, I am excited to be able to close my charts once I'm done for this morning and go back and look at this video a little bit and figure out where what I'm actually gonna do with it. You know, I don't think there's any way that I upload it, especially you know, when you start thinking about uploading a video, you're like, I can see very easily that if I was making the same video and was not talking about, you know, these 15-second trades throughout here and was trying to take a trade on a more, you know, 2 minute or 1 minute or, you know, whatever sort of basis, and I was on the wrong side of it, how I would clearly not want to upload that, right? Um, so I think, to be honest with myself, there's no way I'm doing anything with this video. Um, but regardless, I am excited to be able to sit down after this and be like, yeah, okay, so I did. I'm not crazy. Like, I did call that. You know, I feel like I've talked a lot about my high time frame problem and bullish, or not bullish. What am I saying? Um, so this would have been a problem. Like, if on the high time frame note, if we were to take this long in here, I know that if I did have the correct high time frame bias at the time of me taking my trade, I would have had my take profit here, like full transparency, and I blatantly would have ignored this fair value gap. Now that's not to say that we still won't go here, but like that's another thing I have to work on is you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to shit like this. I mean, here's an order block right here. Look at the opening price of this order block. Right there. Bam. And they say this doesn't run on an algo. You know? now I'm having fun with it. But, you know, you know, there's just so many things that I have to work on, and it comes out as baggage. It comes out as baggage and unnecessary stressors when I question myself all the time. And so even as of this morning, being able to go back and watch this video and convince myself that I'm not actually like dumb within the marketplace, and there's things that I know what I'm doing, but also to be able to narrow down kind of more of what I'm looking for. So let's dial in real quick. We know 10 o'clock just opened, which means the opening range is finished. So this is where 10 o'clock opened. Now, from an open, high, low, close perspective, this is all the trading above 10 o'clock we've been doing, right? We know that this is still, I know that this is still something I would like to see taken at some point today. I could be wrong. I haven't done much looking around on a higher time frame chart, but I mean, let's see something here. Just because now I'm curious. I think you have to pull it from down here, and we'll use our bodies right now. So there's a 79% retracement level right there inside of this fair value gap. So this is kind of along the lines of what I'm talking about. If 10 o'clock opened, we haven't traded above 10 o'clock at all. The liquidity pool that we're looking for is above us. We've traded down and taken out those swing lows. Now we're potentially looking for something to send us long up into here. Now, from an open, high, low, close perspective, I didn't finish my thought, but you know that when any sort of candle, 1 minute, you know, a 1 minute candle, 5 minute candle, 15-minute candle, hourly candle, it's that candle's going to open, trade down, trade through its opening price, and then as the hour or the 15-minute candle closes, it's going to work. It's going to come back down into the range of the entire range of that candle, right? And so from an hourly perspective, if we at the open of the hour, we haven't traded above this candle, so the likelihood that eventually this is going to get above that candle is extremely high. But sometimes narrowing down that that time can be rough for me. So The 9:30 to 10 o'clock range just finished, so we'll throw my AM range box on here from 9:30 low to the 10 o'clock high, which is right there. We'll get rid of this, even though we know that's an order block. Get rid of this. So we see our bodies are respecting the upper quadrant of that right there, which is bullish in my opinion. So now we can grade the entirety of this range, and I'll make it a little bit thicker here. Now we can just kind of wait and see what it does. You know, ICT talks about the ladder reference, and the market runs on order blocks going from here to here to here to here. You have to play the game. So if we're respecting that 1 hour order block right on this line, that's still not to say that we couldn't come down through it. You know, our bias, that doesn't necessarily destroy my bias. You know, and here's another perfect example. We're respecting this 1 hour order block. We're still above the end dog right here, which is a regular trading hours end dog, and we'll see how this closes, but that's consequent encroachment that we just hitting right there. It's very faint. And the lower side of that. So we'll have to see what this does. Ideally, before it goes up, it's going to go down back into a discount, and so, you know, we could, again, I don't know. I need to stop talking because this is the part. It's stuff like this in here where it starts to confuse me. You would think that one or the other side of the range is going to be taken. Shit, and there's my 1 minute breaker as well. Body's respecting that, but if I'm looking at a 5 minute chart, my highest up close candle would technically be this right here, which is also just right inside of this order block. Now if you want to talk about to the tick again, look at the top of this order block and the low of that wick right there, this candle and this candle. So I think regardless of what this is doing in here, like, this is pretty shitty. It's not really doing much except, you know, low time frame consolidation, I guess, but you just wait. You just wait and see. When I point out, you know, stuff like whatever it was. So there's 50% of the range. We'll see what it does if it wants to trade through that. Even if we are bullish all the way up into here, from a discount perspective, the market goes from premium to discount to premium to discount, right? So that optimal trade entry that I just threw on the whole range, I think it comes down to here. So there's consequent encroachment right there of that range. This anywhere in here is optimal trade entry long. But again, I could be completely wrong, and this is where I'm kind of losing my train of thought. But if you play the ladder game from order block to order block and what's it respecting and whatnot, like, you could have easily looked at this as well. Okay, we did trade up into this fair value gap, then we hit that fair value gap and immediately pushed back lower and left a 2 minute fair value gap right here. So I'm going to sell that first 2 minute fair value gap at least to get to the low right there. But if you're bullish, why would you do that? And that's kind of the hard game that I have playing, because, you know, when you have so many PD arrays in a small amount of, in a small range, it becomes very difficult for me to play the game and get an actual handle on what I'm actually looking for and waiting for. And me personally, the only way that I would have been able to do anything within that two minute fair value gap, if I did, was on the 2 minute chart. It doesn't give you much of anything other than you have this fair value gap over the top of this quadrant right here. Now, when you have stuff overlapping like that, it's a pretty solid something to go off of. However, the fact that on the 1 minute chart there's a swing low right here, that's even better for me if you were trying to take this short. But the other thing that a lot of the time I would do is even go down to the 15-second chart within this fair value gap right here and look for that breaker. Now, you kind of can do the same thing, or at least I would be doing the same thing a lot of the time, is looking for that swing low to be taken even on a 15-second chart before it trades up into a fair value gap. And so from that perspective, I mean, this is really solid right here from a sell perspective. Again, just those small 15-second trades to get down to here. Now this one's a lot more difficult because the market was looking really shitty as this was happening. And in order to work that down, you got to be kind of on top of your shit, you know? And I was not at the moment, so I'm not by any means saying I would have done this, especially when throughout this right here, I'm still looking for higher prices. It's just a matter of time. But we'll see what it does. So there was consequent encroachment of the 9:30 to 10 a.m. range. We'll just kind of see what it does. And I could be completely wrong. Like, it could want to come... Maybe it wants to take this low, you know? The more I talk and the more I yap and try and convince myself that I know what's happening, the harder it is for me to actually figure out what the hell's happening. So, yeah. Yeah, but then again, you have a 5-minute order block right there, and you're pushing off of it. There's this 2-minute order block. I thought this was a 1-minute breaker. All night, all summer. I would feel a lot better about this fair value gap right here, if it took this high right there. But it technically doesn't need to, because you can rely on the 15-second chart sometimes, as well as the fact that your fair value gap is pushing through the top of this NWOG right here. Your bodies are respecting PD arrays within this range. You know, you have that order block, 5-minute order block over here, consequent encroachment right here. I mean, see, and this is like one of those times where I feel like I'm guessing, because if you consider this volume imbalance to the low of this candle, this is a bullish order block on top of regular trading hours and dog with a bullish bias without trading above 10 o'clock. I feel like there's absolutely no reason you could not buy this fair value gap right here. And let's say this starts running without trading into this fair value gap. It would not be something that I would just buy based on bias. Like, I would wait for that trade back in, because, like, without having the confidence secured in my mind, if it didn't trade into this fair value gap and I'm buying it, let's say I get a fill at 250, 200.75, whatever. But I don't do that, so I buy it 9 handles higher, knowing my stop still has to go in the same place. That's a 40 handle stop where my brain is not confident that it's going to go there, and that 30 to 40 handle stop loss is not something that, you know, I'm good. Now, there's our high. There's our high taken, so let's throw this fair value gap on here. You know, because a lot of times where I get shit on by the market is when, you know, I'm so confident in something, and so I will enter something without it actually trading back to the fair value gap. And I know there's entry methods to do that, but like even if I ended up buying it, you know, my entry price was 209, I would not be liking this candle at all. Just like the little stuff like that stresses me out, and it doesn't always need to. And so there's many of times where if I'm expecting the long, let's say this immediately just rips up here, right? I would be kicking myself in the sense that, man, I knew it. I knew it, and I didn't buy it because it didn't trade to my fair value gap, right? But if I did buy it, I would be shitting my pants even if I bought it right here. I would be shitting my pants as these candles were trading down. And it is perfectly viable for this to trade into this fair value gap. It doesn't have to, but it would be perfectly viable for this to trade down into this fair value gap before it rips up there. Yet if I had in my mind that it didn't need to trade to the fair value gap, and my entry price was at 209 and it began trading into this fair value gap right here, like I would still be stressing with the fact that by that point, if like I said, my entry price was at that 209, you know, let's say even to the low, I'm at 16 handles drawdown and trying to build up the confidence to not close a trade or to not do something. Like, you know, I just have so many little, personally, I just have so many little problems that I have to walk through. So we'll see what this does here. So if my entry price was 209, well, let's just see. If I were to take that trade, I never use these, but from a just to see what would have happened perspective. Let's say my entry price was the 209. I'm thinking that overall today we're going to get up to here. Now there's two things you could have done. One, put your stop below the candle that's making this fair value gap, which would be this one right here, or your last low. So from a risk reward, and then I never do this, by the way, risk reward, you're at 1 to 3.5 with a target of 40 handles, stop loss of 30 handles. And I'll just leave this on there and see what happens. Now, in a perfect world, I would also like to point out that this would have been my ideal entry within that fair value gap. But talking about how things make me nervous and sometimes it doesn't return to that fair value gap, I will put the hypothetical entry price right here, okay? And we'll just wait and see how this goes, and I might close the video after whatever happens here, but I think I'm going to be doing this more often, because I think even from a perspective of talking to myself, that this was a learning experience to kind of walk myself through some of the things that I do know and don't need to feel so freaked out on all of the time. So we'll just see what happens here. And again, if you had multiple contracts on here, you could also very easily, from a safer perspective, even just have a take profit right above your most recent high, or have a take profit. There's a swing high right here, or a swing high right here, that you could do all of that through. And so from that perspective, if we went long in here, or if I did go long in here, and I wasn't, confident, or I didn't like the way what this black candle is showing me, even up until this point, the fact that this fair value gap is still completely viable to be traded into, I would obviously not be happy if it came down into this fair value gap right now, right? It would freak me out, even though it's perfectly viable. But on that note, if you have multiple contracts and you're trying to take partials, you can take one above this high, this high, this high, and your final one up here. Ultimately, this is still, and this is something that I have to convince myself of all the time, is that this is still a good trade. Even now, we're in profit 17 handles from what we were thinking, right? And so even 17 handles, ICT will tell you that 20 handles can make you a millionaire. But just as easy as 17 handles can, as 20 handles can, 17 handles can make you a millionaire. 10 handles a day can make you a millionaire. And so, it's not, even if this does come all the way back down here and I get mad at myself or am uncomfortable and close it early, that doesn't mean that it wasn't a good trade, because you could have, if you don't like it, you can always close your trade and just take your 17 handles here. But then you have to have the mental wherewithal to be like, okay, I could have put it here or here, and if the market does work its way all the way up there, that um, not to kick yourself for for taking it off early if it's something like that that's making you uncomfortable. At least in my position, you know. Like if I actually had a trade on, I would be freaking out right now. Like believe me, I would. So and like I said, like we were talking about the 10 a.m. open earlier, that the hourly candles can give you a little bit of a Judas swing. Like let's look at the hourly candle, right? If this is what our hourly candle, you know what? You know what? And this is another thing that I suck at doing when I'm actually trying to pay attention. There's a 1 hour order block right there. So let's draw that over. There it is. We'll make it thick so it's easy to see. And we'll see what kind. There it is. Look at this. Like everything in your right mind is telling you that this is bullish as shit. You know, there's no reason they should not go take this today. But it's, you know, here we are 10, 15 minutes after this already happened. And I get that I'm multitasking and, you know, trying to talk to the camera and dial you guys in on what I'm actually working on as well. But even if I wasn't doing that, having the wherewithal to, in the moment, okay, what are my PD arrays down here and what can I use to help me frame my bias? Like I would not have had this 1 hour order block on there. This 1 hour order block on there within that, you know, within this range down here in order to actually go to try and find something a little bit lower down here. Now, keep in mind that looking at this down here doesn't automatically mean we're going to buy that, because you still have to break it down to your lower time frames. And if you're looking at a 1 minute chart, your entry, your perfect entry, still would have put you a lot in here, or potentially that this was your entry in here. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, this wick I'm looking at right here on this black candle, I'm just looking at this fair value gap right here in the top of this 1 minute order block. If you had to take profit right there, that would have just hit. But, you know, I'm trying to convince you guys that, you know, on a regular morning, if I was actually trading my demo, or told myself that I was going to be taking trades this morning, that I would have had a hard time with this. But man, oh man, it's making it, from a confidence perspective, you know, if I was to potentially upload this and trying to be somewhat entertaining from a live stream perspective, or even just the YouTube perspective, that it's something you guys are going to watch and trying to talk to the camera, man, I'll tell you that walking myself through everything that I'm looking, you know, and let's say I was going to upload this video, right? This is the first look at you guys, at the way that you guys are looking into my mind and the way that I approach the market and the way that I see it. Man, you know, this is your guys' first look of seeing the way that I approach the market. And for me, it like I just have to continue to be honest with myself that if this was me trading in my room by myself quietly, that I would lack the confidence to do anything in here that I just did. Now, if we, you know, just for my own well-being, my own well-being, my own mental confidence of no, Garrett, like look what you can actually do when you're paying attention, right? So we had, what the heck? We have this 1 minute trade down here to go take out that high. So there's our 20 handles, 21 handles there. We have, where was my other one? It was right here, up into, I took the opening range gap off of there, but this was the opening range gap within here. Break down, sell short on this candle, at least to get back to your other low, right? There's our 17 handles we were talking about earlier. Then it was this first fair value gap right here. We were talking about going long in here to potentially get back up above these two relative equal highs that we had just made. And then we started breaking down the higher time frame bias, but you could have gone, if we took that trade, there's another 22 handles, and then we sat through all of this, and you know, on our 1 minute chart, we obviously walked through this whole trade right here. And this is, again, like kind of my point being, you never would have got filled if you had waited for this fair value gap right here, you know. So that's something I have to work on, because if I was actually trading, I probably never would have entered this trade, to be completely honest. So from this all the way up to that high was a 42 handles. So 21 plus 17 is 38. 38 plus the 22 is, what is that, 60? Plus our 42, as of just now, had I the confidence and the ability to walk myself through a lot of these things on any other morning, I would have walked away with 102 handles this morning and, you know, not had really any problem. And holy shit, guys, I'm excited because this was a very eye-opening thing to make a video and kind of talk, because I'm doing this for myself, right? Talking in order to hopefully talk myself through some of the things that I look at and build the confidence in what I'm doing. And it's hard not to be excited about what I did this morning, but being real with myself, not just giving you guys that one-time glimpse of you know, this guy does this every morning. Hell no, bro. Hell no, I do not do this every single morning. But if I was not recording this and not talking through every little thing that I was thinking, and don't, I guess I'm looking at these more than you guys are. Don't let that confuse you. We would have entered it down here. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just all a confidence thing. Like, the big thing I have to work on is really, like, these are relative equal highs right here. We have this high, and this high, and if this completely could just starts ripping through this as well, because I think on the regular trading hours we had a massive gap up here. Yeah, so it could start filling in a lot of this up in here. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not doing any more today. But it was just very eye-opening to walk myself through a lot of what I see and build the confidence of, okay, I can do this and this and this and this. And if I were to actually, you know, take one of those this morning, even just one, it's irrelevant. I don't really know where my point was going, but yeah, it's just eye-opening. It's just eye-opening, and I would love to be able to build this kind of confidence and yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna end the video there. like I said, it was the first one I've done, and maybe I'll do another one, or who knows what actually comes of this in the future. Uh, and this is all ICT stuff for those of you ICT haters. Um, so, as ICT would say, um, until I see you next time, stay safe, good luck, and good training. See ya.